What's up, guys? This is Adam the Bee's Knees, and today we have the third draft recap. And this one pertains to my league, the UBC United Battle Championship, Season 4. Last season we got eliminated in playoffs by the champion, Turkey, so congratulations to him. But I really want to win this league more than the NPL. Maybe not as bad as I want to get into the other NPL, but still pretty bad. And this league, I wanted to draft to what I know how to use. So I've used every single Pokemon here besides two. And I honestly think this is the best team I have. I really like my NPL teams, but I think this one is just suited for me the best. So I was 4th in the draft, and I knew from the moment that I started what I wanted to get. It was a tough pick a little bit because Mega Lopunny was still on the table, and I had to give that one to Tone, who was after me, or after pick maybe 5 or so. So I decided to go with Kyurem Black here. Also, we have 3 Pokemon that can use Z moves, and only offensive Z moves. You can't use Z Splash or Z Conversion or whatever. But I decided to go with Kyurem. Now, what makes Kyurem pretty good at a Z move Pokemon as well is his diverse move pool. And he is also coming back from the NPL. I almost won that league. I made it to the grand finale, and I, like the curse of my team, we lost, like we have 2 other times. So there's that. But what I also kind of like about this is if I want to throw in Freeze Shock, which is I'm being so triggered, which is a physical Z move, which is a physical ice move, I get a maxed out super strong ice Z move that takes 1 turn, not 2 turns to charge up, and can pretty much just, if I click that button, something dies. So that's awesome. Kyurem Black also has very good every stat. A little lackluster in speed, and the only other flaw Kyurem has is he has no physical ice move. But, 120 special attack with an ice beam, that's pretty good. So, from the start, I had the team planned. I had my second pick, and that was actually a Mega, and it wasn't a Mega I've used at all before, because I've normally used Megas like Venusaur, Scizor, Sableye. I used Mega Blastoise quite frequently. Those kind of Megas. Mega Ampharos was really cool. I decided to go with an offensive Mega rather than defensive, and it honestly pairs phenomenally with Kyurem Black in terms of an offensive presence. The only weakness between these two is a Steel type, so that obviously means I drafted Mr. Gembad here, the Mega Diancie. Now, what makes him especially strong in this season is that I do not need Protect to get the 110 speed from 50, and he gets Power Gem, which still you want to probably run Mix most of the time just because of Diamond Storm's bump, because it can raise your speed +2 at any point. But Power Gem is also nice if I want to have some bulk. Mega Diancie often viewed as frail, but I mean 110 and 110 is pretty good now. HP wise, but it still gets some defensive moves. It gets Stealth Rocks, Screens, Heal Bell, so it gets all that cool stuff. So Mega Diancie here. So together with these two, it really can blow back any team. The only exception is a Steel type, and one Steel type in particular, Scizor. So initially I did have the Magneton as a draft, but I'll tell you why that didn't happen. I actually decided to change that later on the road, but so it comes back to me, and also I wanted Tangrowth. Tangrowth was taken like round 1 or 2, but there was one Pokemon left that I used and that brought me to a championship again, and the Season 2 MVP of the UBC is Reuniclus. Flobbert is returning to the team. A very good mon. I love using this Pokemon. It has all sorts of great moves, a decent amount of special attacks, a lot of cool setup moves. It gets, of course, Magic Guard, which you're going to want to run 80% of the time. Other than that, Regenerator. Very, very strong mon. Lots of good setup. Lots of... It just is... It beats Stall. Like, you can't beat this thing with a Chansey and a Lomomola, a Cresselia. You just can't. You can't Toxic it to wear it down. Of course, you can get Dark, Draft, or whatever, but that's okay. It doesn't cover everything. But Ludicrous is also a great Trick Room mon, too. It's a good Trick Room setter as well. And even though it doesn't have the greatest stat bulk-wise, the HP makes up for it. It's a great fighting check, a great Mega Metachan, Mega Lopunny check, and it can just hit hard without any investment, which is fantastic for a bulkier Pokemon. You want it to at least have some sort of presence, unlike Toxapex, which can't do anything. So up next, and this is a snipe. So I was 4th, so I got Kyurem. Didn't win all the way. I got Reuniclus and Diancie pretty close together, and went all the way back and came all the way to me. I wanted Krookodile and I wanted Arcanine, but I didn't know which one I wanted first. The thing was that the 2 teams ahead of me, because I was picked 3, did not have a fire type, and they also did not have a ground type. I believe one of them actually had a dark type, but I was like, okay, you know, in the grand scheme of things, there's another fire type out there. Also, initially I wanted Entei, but that went, so Arcanine's fine. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go Krookodile, and I can hope that Arcanine comes back. And I did go with Krookodile. We have Instigator here. He is also a Z-move Pokemon here. Very torn between him and my Electric type as my second Z-move user. Krookodile, fantastic. But it was so good because I sniped Greg and I sniped Chip, the 2 people ahead of me. And we had to sit there for 3 hours until Greg made a new team with the things he already had to counterbalance. So that was a fantastic snipe on my part. And Krookodile, I loved using last season. Great sweeper, great Pokemon with the 117 attack. Fantastic Pokemon to have. Good speed. It's a great knockoff user. It's my, actually, besides Diancie, my other Stealth-Rock user. That's a little flaw of mine. And it's Intimidate Core. And with that Intimidate Core, we have our next Pokemon. Not Krookodile, Arcanine right here. Arcanine, Season 2, UBC Pokemon that I use. I love this Pokemon. It can hit hard with the Life Orb set. It can be defensive too with Morning Sun and Will-O-Wisp. Extreme Speed is great. Wild Charge. It gets a few good moves, but I'll be honest, my draft isn't really Z-move oriented. I only have one other mon that can be a Z-move user, theoretically. The other 5 aren't your traditional Z-move Pokemon. And of course you can say like Tangrowth could be, or Reuniclus could be. I don't have Tangrowth, but theoretically. Or Reuniclus could be a Z-move Pokemon, but of course you probably want to run leftovers, maybe a Culver Berry or something on that. Krookodile, it's at least got some speed. I think speed is more important than slower mons for Z-moves. And it can hit very hard with a ground, fighting, water, dragon, fire Z-move as well. So, and we have one more pick, is Arcanine here, like I was stating. So, Arcanine, what Arcanine can do is it has a good extreme speed mon, like I said. It can be a pretty good Z-move user, especially with the Wild Charge. I think that's great coverage. So, these were my Pokemon initially. These were the ones I wanted on the list, no matter what. Besides Arcanine, I had Entei, but Arcanine's perfectly fine if they get open up to tier 2, or at least give me more points. And so I wanted a water type here. Now, so far on my list, my very first Pokemon that I wanted when I sat down had Kyurem, had Mega Diancie, had Reuniclus, had Krookodile, had Entei, but Arcanine on the list. I wanted the Vaporeon. Vaporeon's a good wish support user and a good cleric. But I decided that I would rather have a Alomomola. Alomomola can do Vaporeon's job, maybe not as good in terms of heal bell, but it's a low budget pick. Alomomola was taken right after me. Coming back down, Vaporeon was taken right after me. So I was like, okay, you know, forget the water types. I need a Volt Turn Core, and I need one because they can go pretty well with Cure Block and Mega Diancie, my two hard hitters. So the first one I wanted was a Tier 4 Electric type. It wasn't Magneton because there was a Steel type in Tier 1 that was still there. And compare it with Kyurem and Diancie, it's phenomenal. But first I went with Electros here. Another Pokemon I've used, very strong Mon, Assault Vest user. This I really thought about using as a Z move because Electros is one of the most diverse move pools in the game in terms of a very decent draft Pokemon. I decided against it because I'll be honest, I'm going to go with an Assault Vest most of the time. If I need a bulky set, I'll probably have leftovers because this thing only has Drain Punch to heal itself. But we have Electros here. Very good offenses, decent defenses, very slow, which is not bad. It's a slow Volt Switcher, which sometimes you want a fast one, sometimes you want a slow one. Slow can be just as good in League format. But what makes this guy really good is Levitate. That's why the Bold Maker pun on Mold Breaker, because Levitate is so decent. And with that being said, I'm going to be right back. But so far, I think I've picked up a pretty good team. Only weakness right now is Scizor. Could be a problem. Mega Scizor as well, or a very obnoxious Steel type. But I do have Arcanine and Electros, but we'll see. So I'm going to complete my Volt Turn 4. Alright, we are back. Sorry about that. I actually just did my week 1 round. But anyway, to complete the Volt Turn Core with Electros, and to complete my Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Also, I was significantly weak to Scizor and Mega Scizor, so I was like, you know what, it's still there, why not draft one? So, Rock Paper is here. Scizor has joined the field, so this completes my Fairy Dragon Steel Core. A very good one, in my opinion, one of the stronger ones, especially even in the OU format. Now, what Scizor can do is that it has a great attack stat, very good defenses in bulk. Of course, it does have that HP Fire weakness, so there is that. I do have Baton Pass capabilities, of course Bullet Punch, and it's a great pivot user as well as a knockoff user. So there is Scizor. Rock Paper. Shout outs to, I believe it was the Occasions from the NPL, the National Pokemon League. I just saw he had this name in the chat. I was like, you know what? That's a pretty dang good nickname. So props to you. So at this point in the game, like all my water types are gone. Initially I wanted Alomomola and Vaporeon, right? And they were both taken. Aloe super early. So, but then I was like, okay, you know, I will have my plan C on Rotom Wash, because Rotom Wash pairs phenomenally with the team so far. It's a good electric type. This was before I drafted Eel, because Eel and Scizor were kind of like on the same thing. But Rotom Wash got taken, so I was like, okay, there's two more water types. First off, there's Tentacruel. I wanted that because it's a good spinner. Poison type, which I don't have yet, and a very good mon I've used before. That was taken 1 or 2 picks before me, so I was a little triggered. So I did not get Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, or Plan E, but I will introduce you guys to Plan E, the Mantine here. Mantine was the only one left that I really wanted. I didn't really want, but you know, it's a good water type, very good water absorbability. It has Swift Swim and Water Fail. None of those are awful at all. Water Absorb probably the more common one. But what makes Mantine really good, especially in this generation, is it has an increased HP stat. I believe it's plus 10 or plus 20, so it equals 85. I don't know. And then it also has the Roost, which it did not get in 6th gen. So that being said, this is a good Pokemon in the 7th gen fray. So it also has Defog, which adds my second Defogger after Scizor. So that's great. I have more hazard removal than I had last season. That was a big weakness of mine. But here we have Plan E. Pretty solid mon in my opinion. Decent special attack. It has quite a good amount of moves. A lot of physical moves for a Pokemon with 40 base physical attack. But there is that. Mantine's also a really cool Pokemon in general, but you know. So it came back to me, so I took Mantine, then I had to wait a bunch of turns, and now it's back. I get 2 more picks. Or wait, no. Mantine, and I get 1 more pick right after Mantine. Hitmontop was actually just taken. I was like, and a couple people were like really mad about that because they wanted Hitmontop. I actually did not want Hitmontop. I wanted Hitmonlee, and I decided, you know, I'm going to draft this now in case those people who were mad with Hitmontop wanted one of the other Hitmons. And I really think Hitmonlee is a lot better than Chan. You know, Hitmontop is way different, but I decided to get with Kick and Leg here. Hitmonlee is a very cool mon. It can be a nice sweeper with the Unburden ability, and it can hit super hard with Reckless. 120 attack is very strong, especially paired with high jump kick. It's another knockoff user. It has a rapid spin. So those really made Hitmonlee sparkle in my eye. It has Limber, I think, right? Which is fine. I'm probably not going to use that one. But as terms of moves, it gets quite the amount of good moves. It adds priority to my team, which I really like having. So that's 3 priority users in Scizor, Arcanine, and Hitmonlee. So that's actually really good for a draft format league. You really want those kind of guys. Now, of course, the only true flaw I really see is no Stealth Rocks, and I actually don't fix that, unfortunately. So Crocodile is probably gonna have to run rocks a lot of the time, even with an uncharged in a choice scarf set. Who knows? Maybe what does Z Stealth Rock do? I can't use it, but you know. So, all right. So I have these 9 mods here, and you know, I don't really have a weakness to anything. Fighting is a little annoying, but fun fact, I've always struggled with fighting types, especially those with Gunk Shot and Knockoff. So my next 2 picks really do cover that fighting weakness, and the first one I picked returning from the MPL, and that is Carry the Gourgeist here. I can technically use any form I would like, but there's that. So Gourgeist is a really nice budget grass type. You can't get like the Amoonguss, you can't get the Tangrowth, but there is that. So what makes Gourgeist really nice though is the nice defense, the ability to Leech Seed and Will-O-Wisp, as well as it gets a lot of cool moves like Disable, Destiny Bond, and even Fire Blast. Even though its special attack isn't that good, it also gets priority in Shadow Sneak. So you know, maybe if I have to face a Mega Lopunny, I will use this again like I did Aki. But Gourgeist is going to be an addition to the squad. A very strong member. I actually think my tier 5, my only tier 5 actually, is a very good tier 5. It's one of those nice tier 5s. So I have 1 more pick, and it used to be a tier 5. It got promoted to tier 4 just because it's really good, and that is Weezing. Now, what makes Weezing super good is it's a bulky poison type. 100% deals with any fighting type in the world. Maybe it can, you know, kind of take a little damage from knockoff. The only thing I don't really like about Weezing is it doesn't get like recover. It gets Pain Split, which is fine. It's better than nothing. But it is a levitating poison type, so it does have an immunity to ground moves, which is really cool. Now, Weezing can run both physical and special moves, usually special. You know, Shadow Ball, not really. I actually could run a cool Assault Vest with Shadow Ball people, you know, but it gets fire and poison coverage, which is what you're going to want to run, and it's also a Toxic Spike setter, which is very nice. And it can be a taunt user as well, so that is Weeznuts. So, honestly, this team's pretty dang good. The only regret is no great Stealth Rocker. Crocodile's a good Stealth Rocker, but I probably wouldn't want to run it as a bulkier Pokemon most of the time. And of course, Diancie does have Stealth Rocks, and without Protect, it would free up a move for Diancie to use. But, you know, That's okay. But my main regret is, unfortunately, and I try to make up for it in my other drafts, there is no Gen 7 Pokemon on this team. I have two Pokemon that benefit from Gen 7 in Mantine and in Diancie, but they weren't exactly my, they weren't exactly Gen 7 Pokemon, for the record. And yeah, but I'm actually really happy with this team. I got sniped a couple times, and you know what? I will pull up I'll pull up my plans, and I'll just show you. One moment. Alright, so, and this is the top here. This is all my NPL stuff. But initially, this is just a rough, very, very first version of the team. It was Mega Diancie, Kyurem, Cresselia, Tangrowth, Vaporeon, Magneton, Masquerain, Pangoro, Donphan, Crobat, and Arcanine. Right? But I was like, Entei's probably better, and I had these other options here. Alomomola would replace Babe, or Slowking, and then I'd Shaman for Tangrowth, or Amoonguss. But then I revised it a little bit. So I went with Mega Diancie, Kyurem Black, Entei, and then I had Crocodile Crobat, because I really, really wanted Crobat. I really did. And then Magneton, Masquerain, Hitmonlee, Vape, Crest, Tangrowth. Or Ryun, a little bit closer to my team. These two were also switch-ins, but I was like, okay, let's revise this a little bit more. So I had Mega Diancie here, Kyurem Black, Entei, Amoonguss, Crocodile, and then I had Skuntank here, or perhaps Gourgeist, depending on what was sniped, Masquerain, Skarmory, Alomomola, Reuniclus, and Hitmonlee. But then I changed it again. I went with Mega Diancie, Kyurem Black, Reuniclus, Crocodile, Crobat, Magneton, Masquerain, Alomomola, Arcanine, Shaman, and then I don't know what was supposed to be here. And then finally I was like, okay, and this and this were between drafts. I also decided to drop Crobat for Golbat, and then I was like, no, you know what, Weezing's there. And Mantine was the only water type left, and that was fine, so I went with Mantine and Weezing. But when I was going in the draft, also I think Hitmonlee was supposed to be down there. So the real things that I did not get, and I figured I didn't get, was like Amoonguss, Tangrowth, so Gourgeist was on that list. I also had these three as well. And you can see all the water types I had. You see Alomomola, Vaporeon, Tentacruel, Rotom, and then I got Mantine. So, anywho, this is the Bee's Knees signing off with the UBC Season 4 roster. Hope I'll win. Hope, I make it one step farther than I usually make it, which is winning the whole thing. So, until then, this is the Bee's Knees signing off.